If it talks of things you don't believe in, it's still a fucking poem. If the meter isn't even, it's still a fucking poem. If it isn't all that intricate, it's still a fucking poem. If you don't feel all that into it, it's still a fucking poem. If it's popular, too jocular, the rhyme scheme gets on top of you, if the metaphors are propping up an argument that's sloppy, if it's written by some children, it's still a fucking poem. Graffiti to a building, still a fucking poem. If it's scribbled at a workshop, it's still a fucking poem, or by someone you've not heard of, it's still a fucking poem. If it won all the awards, if it left you feeling bored, if it's half as good as yours, it's still a fucking poem. If it isn't asking questions, isn't quite an argument, isn't all that liberal, it's not attacking Parliament, if the title has a footnote, the ending sort of spirals out, if it will not be remembered by the world 100 years from now, it's still a fucking poem, right? Still a fucking poem. Still as much a poem as any piece you know of. And if it isn't how you write it, it's still a fucking poem, and you don't think that you like it, but it's still a fucking poem, and you can cry that it's appalling, but it's still a fucking poem, and you aren't all that important, right? You're not a fucking poem. You're just a fucking poet stuffed with too much guff from poems. Just leave it to the rest of us, or go and write a poem.